Welcome back to another Smart Path Academy Explainer. Today, we're taking those complex exam skills and turning them into easy marks. Now, have you ever looked at a massive, intimidating Cambridge checkpoint reading passage and just felt your heart sink? Like you're terrified you're going to run out of time? Well, what if I told you there's a technique that takes just a few seconds, but basically guarantees you'll find the most important points? That's exactly what we're mastering today. Skill 25, skimming for gist and main idea. So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll kick things off by figuring out what skimming actually is, then we'll learn how to spot those sneaky exam clues, do some guided practice together, test your skills, go over some common mistakes to avoid, and finally, wrap up with a quick recap and a challenge. Let's get into it. Listen, skimming is absolutely your ultimate exam superpower. Why? Because it helps you grab the big picture incredibly fast, which leaves you way more time for those tricky, head-scratching questions. When you skim, it's like you're building a mental map of the text. You're definitely not trying to memorize every single fact right away. You're just figuring out the layout so you know exactly where to hunt for specific answers later on. It is, hands down, the single best way to save time and boost that score. All right, Section 1. What is skimming, and how is it different from gist, main idea, and details? Let's clarify exactly what we mean here. Teachers toss these words around all the time, right? But understanding the precise difference is your secret weapon for top marks. Skimming is the actual action. You're reading quickly for the general topic. You are not reading every single word. You're hunting for the big message. Then there's the gist, which is basically the overall vibe or feeling of a text. The main idea is the single most important message the author wants you to walk away with. And details? Well, those are the extra bits. The numbers, the colors, the specific examples that explain the main idea. When we skim, we actively ignore those tiny details so we can zero in on the main idea. Moving on to Section 2, spotting key exam clues and how to hunt for answers. What's really cool about this next part is learning exactly where Cambridge hides the answers. They really don't make it impossible, I promise. They actually leave a trail of breadcrumbs for you, if you know where to look. So use these 4 clues to filter out all that extra noise. First off, always read the title and any subheadings. I mean, they literally hand you the topic on a silver platter. Second, jump straight to the first and last sentence of each paragraph, because that's usually where the main idea likes to hide. Third, just ignore the numbers, dates, and tiny details at first. They're basically just traps designed to slow your reading speed down. And finally, keep asking yourself one simple question as you scan. What is this mostly about? Okay, Section 3, guided exam practice. Let's solve 2 cases together. I'm going to show you exactly how an expert test taker thinks when they look at a passage. I want you to borrow my brain for a minute here. Look at this short snippet about a school garden. It says, at first, the school garden was only a dry patch of soil. The garden became a place to learn, share, and relax. And the exam question asks, what is the main idea? So let's break this down into 3 easy steps. Step 1, we look at that first sentence. It tells us the garden started out as a dry patch. Step 2, we spot the big change in the final sentence. It became a place to learn and share. Step 3, we formulate our answer. By totally ignoring whatever middle details there were about, specific vegetables or herbs, we clearly see this transformation from useless to useful. So our perfect main idea? A neglected area became a useful school garden. Awesome! Let's try another one. Text B is about an animal, and it reads, the fennec fox is well suited to desert life. Its large ears help it lose heat. It can also survive for long periods without drinking water. The question here is, what is this mostly about? Notice how that very first sentence practically shouts the main idea at you while the rest are just supporting details? Step 1, that first sentence explicitly says the fox is suited to desert life. Step 2, we skim the middle and catch words like ears, fur, water. Step 3, we put it all together. We definitely don't write down airs and water. We write down the big picture, which is how the fennec fox is adapted to desert life. Boom, that's exactly what the examiners want to see. All right, Section 4, test your skills. It is your turn to be the exam detective. I'm going to read a text, and I want you to think about your answer before we reveal the solution. Here's a snippet from Text C. Mira expected the library to be silent. The library had changed into the busiest place in school. What is the main idea? Remember our strategy. Read the first and last sentences and skip over any messy middle details about story maps or tablets. What is the big picture going on here? Let's see how you did. Cambridge really rewards precise answers. So a weak answer like, it's about a library, totally misses the mark. It completely lacks the exact detail of how the library transformed. It's just way too vague. A strong Cambridge answer captures that change perfectly, saying something like, the library has changed into an active and popular learning space. Let's keep the momentum going with practice 2. Chocolate is made from beans, which grow in pods. The manufacturer knows exactly what kind of cacao is going into the chocolate. So what is this text mostly about? Now, this passage might be packed with tricky vocabulary about tree types and processing, but remember our golden rule. Ignore the tiny details at first, just focus on the beginning and the end. If you guessed something vague like eating chocolate, you won't get the point. You have to capture the actual gist, which is the manufacturing process. A strong Cambridge answer would be the process of making chocolate from cacao beans. If you just say chocolate, the examiner has no clue if you mean eating it, buying it, or making it. Precision is key. Okay, practice 3. This one is a narrative text. It was a turtle, an upside-down turtle. A great commotion on the beach. What is the gist of this scene? Try to visualize the scene in your head and ask yourself, what is the single most important event happening right here? To grab full marks on this, you've got to include the key elements: the crowd, the beach, and the giant turtle. A weak answer like, a day at the beach, entirely misses the main action, right? But a strong Cambridge answer tells the examiner you perfectly understood the drama. Something like, a crowd gathering around a giant upside-down turtle. That's exactly it. Let's move into Section 5, Avoiding Common Exam Mistakes. We're going to learn the secret teacher feedback codes. Understanding how teachers mark your papers is brilliant because it helps you think exactly like an examiner, which stops you from losing silly marks. Here are 4 common codes you might see. EX means your answer is too general. EV means you missed the evidence. OW means you copied a huge chunk of text instead of using your own words, and IR means you added irrelevant detail. So if you spot an EX or an IR on your paper, it means you either weren't precise enough or you wrote down tiny facts that had absolutely nothing to do with the main idea. When finding the gist, don't fall into the IR trap of throwing in extra irrelevant facts. All right, we've made it to Section 6, Recap and Final Challenge. One last test of your skills. We've covered a ton of ground today, so let's lock in what we've learned before your final test. Keep these 4 golden rules in your head every single time you tackle a reading comprehension section. Skim for the big message, not every word. Hunt for clues in the titles and the first and last sentences. Remember that Cambridge demands precise answers, not vague ones. And finally, completely ignore those distracting numbers or extra facts on your first read-through. Now, time to apply everything you've learned. Here is your final challenge. Read this snippet. We ducked and wove around the slalom of wooden carts, sweating, as the train glided out of the station. What is the main idea of this experience? You've got 10 seconds. Think about the action, think about the setting. If you came up with something like a chaotic and rushed dash to catch a train at a busy station, you, my friend, have officially mastered this skill. Thanks so much for joining us at Smart Path Academy for this explainer. Keep practicing and you are absolutely going to ace that exam. But before you go, ask yourself, the next time you face a massive wall of text on a test, are you going to panic or will you confidently skim for the gold? See you next time.